Tracy Howard, welcome to the Anatomy and Clay Learning System podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time. And I know we're catching you on a busy day as you're wrapping up the school year, correct?
Correct. Our very last day for students was yesterday. Today is teachers' last day of lots of meetings and then wrapping up the classroom for the summer break.
And this is not your first last day, so you must know what it feels like and how to anticipate it. But how does this one feel in particular?
To be honest, this year was an extremely challenging year, as many teachers have stated. I feel after this is my 20th last day of school, and I have felt this is probably one of the most challenging I have ever had in the 20 years.
What do you attribute that to primarily?
I don't want to say lack of students interacting with one another during COVID, but I feel a lot of that has to do with it. They're not quite sure how to be back in school and relearn. They don't necessarily work together as well as they did before the pandemic. It's the always feeling they can multitask meaning I can be on my phone while I'm also learning in school, as many of them did virtually, I'm sure, binge watching shows and trying to tell them that you can't really learn well while you're trying to keep up on Ted Lasso or whatever show they've been binge watching at that time. Yes.
Yeah, it is a big problem. You see lots of coverage about schools trying to address the issue with mobile devices in the classroom and what to do because the lack of focus seems obvious.
Yeah, it's crazy with that. And as students during the pandemic didn't have to focus, and a lot of them got promoted or passed classes with very minimal learning. So they feel like it'll continue, and we're trying to let them know that that's not. We're trying to get back to how education should be with full immersed learning.
Right. Well, speaking of immersion, you have one of the most interesting kind of arrangements, I guess, between different aspects of the city there in Cincinnati. Could you just describe the program you're involved with and describe the relationship between the zoo and the Cincinnati Public Schools?
Absolutely. So I work in a program called the Zoo Academy. It is now part of one of the high schools. It's one of their career tech programs. This is the 48th year that there's been a partnership between the Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Gardens and the Zoo Academy program. It's a way of getting youth to be on the zoo campus. So unlike many programs where a student might go one day a week or for part of the day and then they go back to their home school, our students come here from 8 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon all day. They get all their classes here. They work 2 days a week for half the day with zoo staff. So many of the students come here wanting to be zookeepers, veterinarians, animal conservation, environmental enrichment, and they get a chance to work with about 19 different pre-apprenticeship labs here, from working in the elephant house, working in Africa with Fiona and Fritz, to working security, working in horticulture, working aquatics, and learning how to weld and plumb, because you got to keep all that plumbing going around, in the zoo. So other than just animal careers, students get a total immersive in what it'd be like to the zoo, and not everything is a zookeeper position, just in case you thought you liked animals, but maybe you don't want to have to take a shower every day when you come home. So
yeah. So the facility you're in is literally right there at the zoo?
Correct. So we are on the bottom floor of the education center here at the zoo. The district leased it for 50 years. We are year 15 or 16 of the 50-year lease. So we still have another 35 years of being here on the zoo campus, at least. But things go very well, and we foresee this continuing long past my retirement in the 35-year lease. So.
And how many students can you have in the program at one time?
So this is only for juniors and seniors.
Okay.
And the maximum we can have is 50. So it would be the utopia perfect 25 and 25, but unfortunately, usually it's about 30 juniors and 20 seniors, vice versa. So with some students decided they wanted to go into welding or something like that after some of the labs. So the number of seniors is a little bit less than we started with the 30. So that way we can bring, so it kind of flip flops, but with a max of 30, or excuse me, max of 50.
You can't start as a senior, in other words, you need to start as a junior.
If there was openings during COVID, we did have openings. So we did have some, like this year, we also had two students who came from outside the district actually to transfer in because we had positions open. It's like the best kept secret of Cincinnati. Not everyone knows it exists, and we're trying to change that, even though it's been here for 48 years. But I know we are maxed out. We have a waiting list of 50 students this year for incoming juniors. So
I was about to ask.
Which is how it should be.
Yeah. So how do you decide who gets in then?
Well, since we're associated now with a high school, about 15 years ago, it used to be open to all Cincinnati Public, and now it is associated with a high school. So first priority goes to the students in that high school. They come in, well, most of them come in as 7th graders. They ask, why are you interested in coming to this high school? Because Cincinnati is high schools of choice. There are, I think it's 18 high schools, each with a different focus. So depending on what you'd like to do in 6th grade, you kind of decide what high school. So they ask what are you interested in? Are you here for the Zoo Academy? We also have a health program, a IT program, and an engineering program. So if they're interested in that, they kind of get first priority. Since we're very small meaning 3 teachers, that's it. That's here. So it's also a lot of times making sure you're on your credits, since we don't have a credit recovery and things like that. So a lot of it is if you are ready to go and not having to do a lot of things, catch up to be able to graduate on time. Since you're out in the lab for 8 to 10 hours a week, you don't really have a lot of time for other things that may be needed depending on where you went to high school or transferred from.
Gotcha. Is this, you've been teaching at this program for 20 years?
No.
Okay.
This is my 3rd year here in this program. I've been in Cincinnati Public 20 years. Prior to being a teacher, I was a researcher at the University of Cincinnati. And prior to that, I lived on the East Coast, and I was actually a zookeeper out on the East Coast at a small zoo called the Elmwood Park Zoo outside of Philadelphia.
Wow.
So it's like a dream job.
Yeah,
I left being a zookeeper because I was going to not be able to survive on my own, and to become a researcher that went into teaching. And now my 2 loves are combined into one.
Wow. You must feel very fortunate about that.
I am, especially knowing that there are only 3 teachers, 2 of which are science and career tech, and 1 is the English math teacher. So yes, I'm very lucky.
Wow. And do you get to spend a lot of time at the zoo then as well?
Well, since we're on the zoo campus, I get to spend a lot of time at the zoo. I'm very lucky, having a bad day or it's too beautiful outside, I'll say, come on, let's go. And I can teach a class outside, or literally right down the hallway is our sloth exhibit. So I can see that out the windows. We can see the giraffes. So anytime you might be rolling your eyes on what kind of day it is, you just kind of look outside. It makes you feel good. But we also are totally immersive. I teach a vet tech program, anatomy, physiology, and environmental science. So I try and do my best to integrate. Let's get out. We're here on campus. Let's not sit in this classroom. Let's go out and learn from what's out there. Comparing, how animals walk to, what environment they're in. You try and get out as much as you can.
That's great. I was about to ask what you teach in particular, anatomy and physiology. Can you talk a little bit about that? What is your approach with teaching anatomy and physiology with the students in your program?
Well, unlike a lot of people who pick anatomy and clay, I teach an animal anatomy and physiology, as well as another teacher as well, and my veterinary tech program. So most students, they understand or think they understand their human body. So we kind of compare the human body and that of canines, felines, and equine. So it's a lot of comparative anatomy is how it's taught.
Ah, okay, gotcha. So when did you come across anatomy in clay? If you don't mind, just tell me how did you get exposed to the system?
Prior to coming to the Zoo Academy, I was a health tech teacher at a different high school, and I would go to NSTA, the national conferences, and walking around, you're like, I taught human anatomy and physiology, and I would see the models, and I'm like, what is this? Again, I worked in research, so I'm a very hands-on person. It's how I teach, very hands-on, and I was like, this is so much better than some coloring sheets and just having them draw what it is. So having them hands-on, getting them to roll out the size of a small and large intestines, without having to dissect, was very eye-opening. It was much more relatable than taking a piece of string and measuring it, seeing the clay, trying to fit it in the torso, really was a fantastic way of students appreciating the own human body as well as that of animals, and how all that can fit and work together every single day. So it's all from go to a conference and somebody kind of playing around and said, what is this? And, from there, couldn't wait till I be able to have it in my own classroom.
And you ordered a full set of models and something like that?
Something like that. No.
Yeah.
As most public school teachers know, you have a limited budget and what you can purchase. So first thing I did was reach out and did some donors choose, and had some donors choose. I got very lucky. People, liked the idea of having these models in class, and I got some through donors choose first. Then was able to show, like, look how great these are, and be able to allow my science team, the extra money to be able to get a full set of models. So I have human models as well as equine models in my classroom so they can compare.
Gotcha. And that was in the previous school, or that's in the current school?
The previous school, I did one donors choose and had like 2 models. So we kind of just showed it.
Okay.
When I moved here, that's when I really reached out and did several donors choose, as well as my school using the funds to be able to buy a full set of models, especially of the equine. Since it was a new program, I was a new teacher, and, kind of convinced them I needed animal models to be able to teach the animal anatomy and physiology. So.
Yeah. And what's your general reaction from your students when you bring these out?
Well, they're around the room all year. As I'm in the classroom and I packed everything up, they're literally in cases that I can see from here. So
Gotcha.
At the beginning of the year, the kids are always like, what are these? And they can't wait to utilize them. And as we get to pull them out, they're a little apprehensive, first with the skeleton, and they label the bones. I work in groups, so you have someone doing the human and someone doing the equine, so they can kind of compare where they are. And then getting to start with the muscles, it really emphasizes how many muscles we have, how they interact, the striation of, the movement. So kids really enjoy getting to play with clay, just like they did when they were like in early elementary education. And they really enjoy being able to play with it. And, wait, I'm not done. I'm like, we have to go to the next class. We got to put it away. Time to put it away. It'll be here tomorrow for you to finish. So they really seem to enjoy it. Looking at how other people, even though you're trying to, again, make the parts of the brain, oh, I really liked how you did this. And they can kind of show the different texture and adding a little art to it as the kids look around. Mine's a little more open sometimes of what color, and then they can tell me the label of what color they did. So I liked how you picked that color because of the function of what it does, like a colon, and so they really enjoyed, and they really helped compare more than just human to animal, but also human to human, because we're all not exactly the same either inside. Like if someone forgot, to put some of the models I have, a kidney on there, they're like, well, how's that going to work if you don't have a kidney? And they'll kind of point out things to one another. So it's great.
Yeah. Wow. Sounds like you really incorporated it thoroughly in your classroom flow.
I try. We're on the zoo, but I can't have live animals in the classroom.
Yeah.
So this is a great way for a visualization for inside a body. So yes.
Yeah. What would be some of your tips or suggestions for a teacher who's just starting to use these? Any insights you'd care to pass along?
Sure. I would say first, don't have one per person. Sometimes it's a little overwhelming. So having them work together in groups of 2 or 3, that way one can be rolling out the clay while one's measuring. I did find that a lot better than I tried to do it once where everybody got their own, and it was overwhelming for some students.
Yeah.
So working together worked well. Definitely the information on size. There's a chart that you guys hand out of like, so in the directions, you understand what some of the terminology is. Having those and laminating those are wonderful to have because my students will then put it on there. I have individual cafeteria trays I took from the cafeteria. So I kind of leave everything on the cafeteria. That way, when they're rolling it out, it's all on the tray. They just pull the next tray, the tray out. So I have a set of trays because that clay is really hard to get out of the tray. That just is used for that. So they pull out, I have a tub, the tray, they put their model on it, and it all goes together that way. So that was priceless versus trying to get it off the table, trying to put tablecloths, get, the laptops and everything off the table. This way it's cafeteria trays. So.
Yeah. Is there any doubt in your mind that the students are grasping the content that they need to grasp using this hands-on approach?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when I compare it to when I did just coloring sheets, I know the students know better. Again, I don't know if that's also because I've been teaching it a little longer, so I'm a little better at, I can't say that. But I know the students understand more about parts, locations, again, trying to put everything in the brain and actually having it in a skull. It's a little better to understand, like the frontal lobe. Yeah, that's in the front. Even though in a coloring sheet it says it, until you put it in there, I really think it helps them really see location a lot better. I use it and then we dissect later. So when we go to dissect, they know that liver is right in front because it's the last thing they put on that they have to move out. So when we really look at body parts and go to dissect, they know it because they visualized it and did it earlier. So I do believe it helps them learn the material, especially location, especially size, and how things interact in systems a lot better just having models there than, again, coloring sheets or pictures, or even like, I have some little models, but until you're actually in there with your hands, it's just you pulling a thing out and putting it back in. So.
Yeah. Do you reflect back or think back on the way you were taught anatomy and maybe wish you had the system at that time?
Oh, I do. I learn and I teach very hands-on, and I have a bachelor's and a master's in biology, and a lot of it was paper, pencil, coloring, not very hands-on. So this helped me relearn because it was a long time I didn't teach anatomy after I graduated because, again, I was a zookeeper and a researcher, molecular biology. So it helped me really relearn and visualize and remember where everything is and how it interacts. Oh yeah, the gallbladder is tucked under there, and I wish I had more hands-on model versus a model on the desk that you can come where the teacher pulls the things out and you're just staring at it. More tactile really, I think, has done a wonderful job of teaching me as well as my students about anatomy.
Yeah. And if the students are hands-on with the clay, it's pretty hard to juggle a cell phone at the same time, maybe?
That's, I say yes. Yes, they will have their cell phone out, but they're taking pictures.
Yeah.
Or they want to live stream to their parent, which always cracks me up. Look what I'm doing. And I mean, again, 11th and 12th graders and anyone who's had teenagers knows getting them to talk about school is hard. So having children saying, look, Mom, look what I'm doing while you're in school, as much as you want to go, Mom, why did you answer? At the same time, they're excited about what they're making. And you can't beat that, because at Christmas or holidays, 5 years down the road, yeah, remember when you did that? Yeah, you share with me in class, and playing with the clay, and or maybe they have their own child and they're playing with some Play-Doh, and they go, yeah, I can show you what this looks like, and they kind of roll out what the parts of the brain, and you can't get that from colored pencils and a photocopied sheet. So yeah, they're not on their cell phone binge watching. They're off showing everybody else, look what we're doing and you're not. So
maybe that's okay. I mean, yeah.
Well, that's why a lot of times if they ask me, I'll say, okay, sure, I like them taking pictures, but the videotaping to their mom is the funniest part. I'm like, all right, Mom, this is only gonna be a few minutes, so I'll be having them turn it off soon. So
yeah, very good. I'm just wondering, back to sort of the global picture of this particular school and program you're in. Do the students go off? Do you follow them in terms of their career and college, what they're getting into in college? Do they continue to pursue this field?
So being a career tech teacher in the state of Ohio, I'm mandated to follow them for the next 3 to 5 years.
Wow.
Hence why we have social media, because it's usually the easiest way to follow them. But every year we get a list of our graduates, where are they now, type of thing, for several years after they graduate. Being here for the last 3 years, let's see, of our 20 graduating seniors this year, we have 3 that are going to a veterinary tech program. We have 5 who've been hired on by the zoo, some in animal facilities, some are like in security, so some get hired right on. They sometimes work here, right? Because you're already at work, you just leave here and go to work. We have 3 of them that are going into environmental careers, some sort of, they want animal, in helping endangered and extinct animal, or not extinct, but threatened animals. So they're going into that type of career. So I can't say all of them do. We do have one that came here because they liked the idea of working with animals, but decided they'd rather work with humans. So she's going into a nursing program, so majority of them do, not all. Again, I have 2 that wanted to go into welding, 1 that wants to go into plumbing, just because of the labs that they had here, and they enjoyed the welding and said, as much as I like animals, I really like being able to do this. So
yeah.
I'm glad we were able to expose them, and the zoo is able to expose them to things outside of just science, even though science, it's my heart, that they may enjoy, that, things that we need in society as well. So.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it seems like this program, as much as you say it's a sort of under the radar a little bit, it sounds like it's also a real gem for the school system. A real point of pride, I would think.
It seems to those that know about it, I was like, oh, or anyone that's had a family member that's gone here, we'll talk about, that's the best 2 years of my life. It's really wonderful to hear. I'm just amazed that more people don't know about it, or they'll say, oh, I remember hearing about that years ago. I thought maybe it stopped, and that it didn't continue. We're like, no, we're still here. I mean, some of our kids, we have interns outside of the zoo, some at veterinary clinics, some at the civic garden center that we have. So it's a wonderful opportunity for kids to get out and learn other than just inside the 4 walls of a school. So.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Tracy, this has been a great rundown. Sure appreciate the overview and all your insights about what's happening in your classroom, and wish you all the success going forward. And, I know there are challenges, but certainly seems like you're a teacher that brings a lot to the classroom, and thanks for all you do.
Well, I really appreciate you reaching out to have me talk about this program, because I love this program. It's a gem, and getting a chance to talk about how great the anatomy and clay models have been helping me teach our students for the future.
Great. Well, we'll catch up with you down the road, perhaps. And if not, wish you all the success in the world.
Great. Thank you very much.